Now, one of the most important things that you need to verify while troubleshooting BGP peering issues is you don't have, or if you have ACLs in the path, they are not blocking any BGP or TCP packets that are relevant to BGP. Now, say for you have a topology with router 1, router 2, and router 3, and at router 2, you have configured an ACL on the interface connecting towards R3, which is your gateway router towards another AS. If you look at the configuration on router 2 on the interface connecting to AS200, you will notice that there's a WAN ACL configured under it. And under the WAN ACL access list, you have a couple of entries. You have permit TCP host, the remote peering IP 10.1.23.3, host 10.1.23.2, which is your local interface IP, EQ BGP, means you are permitting an interface or the TCP connection with the port number 179 for BGP, which is on 10.1.23.2. And the second permit statement you have is permit TCP host 10.1.23.3 EQ BGP, host 10.1.23.2. Though you don't need both the statements, it is, as a best practice, better to configure it, because sometimes what happens is router might not do or perform an active connection from where it's supposed to. And in that scenarios, if the other side tries to perform an active connection with port 179 and you have not permitted that TCP entry in your ACL, it then becomes a problem and it might not allow the TCP session or BGP session to establish. The another scenario you might have is instead of having an ACL on the router interface, you have ACL configured on the firewall. Now, you might be thinking, when you are having a firewall, isn't that adding a hop? Well, not really. If you have a firewall in the middle, and if it's acting as a transparent firewall, then you don't really need to have another hop added. It's not treated as a hop. It's just a filtering device, which is filtering traffic based on the access list from getting into the network. On this firewall, you need to have similar entries. On the firewall, you have two different kind of interfaces. In fact, more than two, but primarily two, which is the inside and the outside, which differentiates your inside and the outside network. On the outside interface is where you configure the ACL. And the ACL says permit TCP any EQ BGP any, and the another entry says permit TCP any EQ BGP. Well, what this is doing is it's allowing for all TCP connections, irrespective of the source and destination IP, for both BGP port number 179. And again, as I said before, you might not want to have both the entries, or both the entries might not even be required on the firewall, but as a best practice, have them both. In this example, if you notice, the configuration of the access list is not a standard practice. It is not a good practice to say permit TCP any. Instead, it should be permit TCP host and specify the host IP. This is as a security mechanism you can prevent from unwanted devices trying to peer or form a BGP connection within your network.